today and welcoming the special audience to the Shared Services Forum's Leadership Interaction. And it's a great honor and privilege to host some of the eminent leaders present here in this room today with us. I would like to extend a very special and warm welcome to a truly visionary leader, Mr. Harry Robertson. Welcome, sir. It is a great pleasure to have with us also his wife, Ms. Goretti Robertson. Welcome, ma'am. Let me name some of the eminent leaders with us who are also amongst us in the room today. We have with us Mr. Sanjay Gupta, who is the CEO of English Health. We have Mr. Sunil Sayal, Regional CFO India of Nokia Networks and Solutions, and he is the President of Shared Services Forum. We have Mr. V.V. Ranganathan. He is the founder of many ventures and the co-founder and chairman of Compasses Ventures. We have Mr. Ram Ramasundar here with us. He is partner at Alexander Hughes. Mr. Pradeep Kapoor, former senior leader, American Express. I'm sure we'll interact more and we'll hear more from them. Welcome everybody. We have many more names. I'm not calling out all of them now, simply in the interest of time. So please pardon me on that account. Many of us know a lot about Shared Services Forum here, and during the evening we'll get to hear about what all the forum does. Please use hashtag SS Forum India in all your social media updates or conversations beyond and outside this room. It will be a great help for us also. And let me now invite on stage Mr. Sunil Sayal. Mr. Sunil Sayal is the regional CFO of Nokia Networks and Solutions, and as I mentioned, he is the president of the Shared Services Forum. I'm inviting him on stage to formally open the evening for us today.
I hope I'm audible. Okay. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Shared Services Forum, on behalf of the Governing Council of the Shared Services Forum, I extend all of you a very warm welcome. I understand it's a Monday evening, the start of the week, and it's not very easy to come from our respective workplaces to attend a conference. And I must say that you must have made a real effort to be here at the start of the week itself. So on behalf of the forum, once again, a very big thank you to all of you. So as I was coming for this forum, one thing which actually struck me, was that we are, as a shared services as a model, is now nearing about 3 decades of its existence, and that is how time flies. So it's been about 29 to 30 years that the concept of the model of shared services started, evolve. And over the years, what a journey it has been. I mean, today we actually look at shared services as a default mode of operation. It has become a way of life. So whenever a new business kind of starts, we actually do not think whether we should be having a shared service center or we should be doing it the traditional way. So I think that has been a huge journey which this particular process of model or strategy, whatever you want to call, has covered over the past 3 decades. Now, why I'm saying so is it was I think about 7-8 years ago when 4 or 5 of us, Ravi, Rakesh, Sanjay, and Anand and myself, we were actually having a chat together somewhere in 2011, and we actually, between the 5 of us, discussed that there was some kind of a void, there was some kind of a vacuum which existed in this industry at that moment of time. And that vacuum was more prominent because of the fact that earlier we had shared service centers which were local operations for multinational companies. But that was the time when we started to look at local operations for local companies. And we thought that we should have a place where we not only exchange ideas, we not only exchanged different ways of working or the best practices as we call it, but we also have a platform to be able to exchange our frustrations, exchange our skepticism, and exchange our pain as well. And that was the point when the Shared Services Forum actually came into existence. So we made a small beginning by having our annual conference in 2011. But over the years, it has actually evolved and evolved to an extent that we now have a place where not only the leaders can interact, we have a place or a platform where not only can we look at the best practices which are happening across the industry, but it is a place where we can recognize key contributions to our field, key contributors to our field, and above all, place where we can honor our own gods. So in terms of the timing of the Shared Services Forum coming into existence, I think it was a perfect timing, because that was the time when we were moving away from just pure operations and bringing about efficiencies to a platform which can create values, to a model which can actually create value. So we have over the years, as many of you might be aware, but those of you who may not be aware, have actually come a long way off as far as the forum is concerned. So from annual events, we have moved on to a lot of satellite events, and this is one of them, as all of you can see. And from what we call generic summits, we have moved on to functional summits, a finance summit, HR summit, IT summit, and so on. We have our own research wing now. And what I'm saying is that we have a platform which is well established, which is well recognized, and I really thank you, each one of you, for being instrumental in some way or in some form or the other, either by your presence or by your contribution. And on behalf of the forum, I really wish to thank you. Although the organizers have only given me 5 minutes, and I think I have absorbed most of them, but still, coming from a field which is not the shared services field, but definitely shared services is at my heart, I would like to mention 3 noticeable trends from, and you can take it from a person who is looking at the steel industry from the point of view of a service recipient rather than a service provider. So first of all, what I wanted to, and I really had a tough time choosing only 3 points given the time you have given me, Ravi. So the first of all was that now this industry is come of age, and people can look at the industry as a place where they can make their careers. It is no longer a graveyard of a vision. It is no longer a place where somebody who's not fit anywhere else could kind of park in the shared services forum. So I think that is one very, very noticeable trend which actually I notice. And the second is that in terms of involvement, what I personally see and what I personally experience in my own company, that centers of excellence within the shared service centers have started to take on critical and significant tasks. I can give you the example of my own company, Nokia Networks. We have a very hybrid kind of a shared service center, and financial planning and reporting and analysis is one function where we have very successfully deployed the center of excellence to be able to do a lot of value add, very different from just pure transaction processing. And thirdly, which I would want to say is the revolutionary changes which have been brought about by the rapid advancement of technologies. So we all talk about IA or artificial intelligence or RPA and so on. And I have heard a lot of people say that these technologies will actually transform us. Just about a question from my side here is, it is not the technologies which transform, it is people who actually do the transformation. So it is you and I here in this room who will be instrumental in transformation. And then when we do the transformation, I think one thing we need to remember is that in the coming days or in the coming months or the coming year, there will be 2 types of workforces. A digital workforce sitting along with a physical human workforce. And it is up to us to be able to take advantage of this unique combination. And to be able to do this, we will definitely need a talent pool. A talent pool which will have to come from a very different source. No longer we will have the luxury of being able to dip within the existing talent pool which we have. Like an example could be a data scientist or a data analyst or a cybersecurity expert. So these are the three trends which I thought I will share with you, at least from my perspective, which this industry is currently or will go through in the near future. And with these few words, I would like to say that you will have a great evening. The evening today is actually has two parts to it. So in the first part, we will have the opportunity and the honor and the privilege to be able to honor a visionary in our field, which I'm sure the Rakesh or Ravi will actually talk to you about when I leave the stage. And in the second part, we will be able to share with you certain trends which have come out based on a certain research paper which the Shared Services Forum and team has worked over the past few months. And I am sure you will find those findings, those research topics and analysis very interesting, and you should be able to explain whatever you are doing in your respective centers what the industry benchmarks are. So with these few words, let me conclude my 5 minutes. And once again, a very warm welcome, and I look forward to a pleasurable evening with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sayan, for sharing the big trends of the industry from your perspective. We are moving on to the next item on the agenda of the evening today, of felicitating the pioneering transformation leader. I call upon Mr. Rakesh Sinha, Executive Director and COO, R Value Group, and co-founder, Shared Services Forum, and member Governing Council. Please come on stage. Thank you.
Hi, very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is a moment to celebrate, and I'm feeling nervous after so many years. It's been about 10 years now when we shared services. At the same time, I'm honored, feeling privileged, using words to describe what to describe. A visionary, a trendsetter, a hero, a joy, what to say. This is that moment which took us 20 years to invite somebody here to felicitate. It literally took us 20 years. And I'm fortunate, as many of you are, and I'm very privileged that I am hosting the evening today, where we'll be having that moment to celebrate. This industry, what we represent, this industry, what we all feel proud of, the industry where we are part of, the industry where we talk about our trends and all our frameworks and success and joy and transformation. It would have not been there if few leaders would have failed. And believe me, you would have not been here running a shared services forum. Might be something else. With this, I request a few of senior leaders to join me on the stage. I would request Mr. V.B. Ranganathan. He is one of the mentors to the Shared Services Forum for the last 10 years. He is the jury chair for Excellence Awards and Recognition for the Shared Services Forum. As Sunil was talking about, we have been part of research, events, knowledge sharing, excellence awards and recognition to the pioneering leaders, to the companies, are something which is another focus area for Shared Services Forums for the last 2 years. So I request Mr. Ranganathan, please join me on the stage, please. I also take the opportunity to invite Mr. Ram S. Ramasundar. Ram is the known industry leader for, in fact, just a while back, a couple of people who are now the relatively global senior leaders, and they're talking about 25 years back. Ram will introduce them. So it is a great moment to have you here, Ram. And you are one of the members of jury panel. Requesting you to please come on the stage, Ram. I request Ravi Ramakrishnan, the founder and CEO of our Value Group and mentor for many of us, including myself, to join me on the stage, please. And request you, Ravi, to read a profile of that pioneering leader.
Thank you, Rakesh. I think Rakesh described this evening as one of the momentous evening. As I kind of share, with Ranga and Ram being here, I'm here to share about a leader who created history, who brought India to the center of the globe, about a warm person who inspired a great team of leaders to venture into a new business, and about a great human being who did not just build a center. We used to call it as financial resource center then, but built emotional bonds with the people to become very much part of his family, of a large extended family. Just a couple of days back, we celebrated the 25-year Silver Jubilee celebrations with many of the leaders around here from American Express, and of course in many walks of life today, not just in American Express. He is Mr. Harry Robertson. I don't think I need to announce. Harry, for all of us, who we are honored to have with us today. As Rakesh said, I think I met Harry about 8 years back. Actually, my wife Jayashree and I were together to meet Goretti and Harry and request him to come to India. We just started Shared Services Forum at that time, and we felt the right person. Actually, Ranga was the jury chair. He said, when are we going to get Harry? He is the person to be here. I think I tried to talk with him, but I think today is a moment of importance for us. As the theme for the evening goes, Harry crossed the Rubicon and came out as a pioneer. And we salute him for what he has done. He was a warrior against heaven and became a great winner of all times. In a way, for us, today is and will remain a memory of a lifetime. Harry, nice to be here. Thank you so much. Let me say that for Harry, personally, the early 90s must have been an interesting time. I'm sure Goretti also shares that. To fight relentlessly against skepticism, we just kind of liberalized at that time, as you know. It's just the first kind of opportunity. Harry had the opportunity, and he would talk more about his experiences. I'm just seeing as unfolded. To lead an organization with a mandate like no other before. To work under the gimlet eyes of world leadership. To make personal choices. To live in a hitherto unknown location, along with his wife Goretti. And two rapidly growing small kids then. Now wonderful boys, Kyle and Shevas. I hope they arrived. They've just gone to the Agra today morning. So I hope they will join us sometime later today. It's a privilege to read out his personal profile as we brought this evening to felicitate him with the blessings of the jury. We are standing here. So let me quickly run through. Harry Robertson, qualified as a chartered accountant from prestigious public accounting firm in the city of London during the mid-70s. After pursuing the early part of his career with the audit firm, he was selected by American Express in 1979 for their corporate audit department. He served there in various positions that involved, amongst other things, close to about 1,000 international flights for business. I'm sure he will talk more about it. His work required him to travel extensively and experience a vast diversity of various cultures in the world over. He became a true global leader, comfortable with dealing with multiple and unique environments and multiple cultures. An inflection in Harry's career came in 1993, so practically just 26 years back, although the center was set up 25 years back. When he was picked to lead the setting up of the first ever global finance transformation center for American Express in New Delhi. As I told you, it was then the Financial Resource Center. He took upon the challenge and brought a team in place that started from a small project office, created an offshore center at Mathura Road, very much in New Delhi. Used to call it next to Haldiram. Because Haldiram was more famous than our center at that point in time. And Sanjay used to say, that's a landmark. We didn't have any other landmark. Creating a world-class facility in a record time, migrated 300 positions from more than 13 divergent countries of the Japan Asia Pacific region. This was set up initially for Japan Asia Pacific, including specialists in languages such as Japanese, Mandarin, and several others. And I'm talking about 25 years back. Even today, I know people talking to me and say, can I do Japanese in India? Can I do Spanish in India? People talk to us today as part of the new world as I am part of. The transformation caused major disruptions within the JAP region, which were sufficiently tackled by hiring, training, and finally seamlessly migrating these well-settled jobs out of their comfort zones into a relatively new location in Delhi. Despite pressures, the team continued writing and rewriting the engagement and deployment rulebook along the way. There was no rulebook. It was just created. And as I said, writing and rewriting, that's what Harry and the team did. And I'm happy to be part of that team at that point in time. And we have Sanjay Gupta very much part of the team, and we've got Umesh, a few of the leaders were there right at the beginning, and of course the team came on as we kind of moved on to the global arena. The first by any global corporate at this scale, soon FRC became a global shared service center for American Express and started servicing diverse geographies and languages. So we used to serve 8 languages. By the turn of the millennium, it had crossed 1,000 headcount mark, became a true multi-time zone operating center, laid the seeds of a larger game plan for American Express from 2000 onward, to the extent that today, India is the second largest country for American Express after US. At the time Harry moved to London, he had ensured a strong leadership team to build on the great beginning to go from success to success. Little wonder, therefore, that when Harry decided to retire from the company in 2001, the New Delhi Center set up by him was named the Harry Robertson Center of Excellence, and Sanjay was with his excellent communication skills, liberally sprinkled with an inimitable sense of humor, and I'm sure you will witness it very shortly. Harry has found plenty to do in this retirement, from languages teaching to running an internet, book selling, business to editing a monthly newspaper, and so on. Harry keeps his personal life very busy, rich and full. To just summarize, Harry not only created the first ever global shared services in India, bringing impactful transformation, but also he laid the foundation of an entire new industry, as many of us spoke, Sunil and Rakesh. An industry worth about 25 billion, it could be 40 billion if we include offshore outsourcing, 25 billion for globally now centers, employing 1 million plus employees, and indirect employees are 2-3 million, so close to about 3-4 million employees today, and making India the global hub for offshore services. So it's a privilege to read out this profile, and Harry is very much with us. Now I request Mr. Ranganath.
Good evening, and Adi, a special welcome to you. It's quite a privilege to be here. And personally speaking, in fact, I've seen you after a very long time after we met in Brighton. And it's a bit nostalgic when I go back to the years in 95, 96, those days of FRCs. I was not part of FRC, I was the auditor of FRC. I was an Ernst as a partner there. And then, it used to be quite, I would say, a raise within my team to be part of the FRC team, to come to FRC and then work in that very charged atmosphere. And personally speaking, in fact, it has been it's one of the best years in the professional career. Having spent a long time with FRC before we transitioned out and gave it to PwC. Because Sanjay was there, and then I have great interactions with Sanjay. And Sanjay moved out to New York. I think I had a site in New York as well. So Harry, in fact, I have been telling as the jury chair for the shared services forum, saying that we are not able to get Harry. We were supposed to get you last year. It looks like Florence is now brought you here. And, very, very happy. I am happy to read out this citation, and there is a small token being given to you as a love and affection for a fine human being. The Shared Services Excellence Awards and Recognition, Pioneering Transformation Leader in Global Shared Services, Mr. Harry Robertson, for leading the first ever global shared services mission in India and bringing impactful transformation through people, process, and technology, delivering everlasting value to business, industry, and society. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Harry Robertson.
Thank you, Mr. Raghunathan. Thank you, Ram. Thank you, Ravi. I'm further nervous. I can't share the stage with you, no? So, this is a real honor, sir, to have you here. And I think we're just waiting to hear you. Heard so much about you, I think, from each one of them. It feels like I have lived that life with you in those days. And I think I'm sure everyone here is waiting to hear from you. All of you. Thank you. They're crossing the Rubicon story. Thank you. Namaste. Namaste and good evening. It's a real pleasure to be back in India, where 25 years ago I arrived and spent 6 very happy and productive years. My friend Ravi has asked me to share with you this evening some of the experiences and thoughts, particularly on setting up of American Express Company's Financial Resource Center, a pioneer of shared services and outsourcing in India. As we know, shared services and outsourcing is immensely popular and successful. And because it's successful, there are many people claiming to be the parents, the fathers of shared services.
If it had been a failure, it would have been an orphan. I looked at a resource, Wikipedia. I wouldn't normally recommend it, on the story of BPO in India, and I discovered that I was described as a veteran executive. I think they meant old when I came to India. I'm even older now. First, can I say I agree with a famous person who said we are each created to do some definite service. Some work has been assigned to each of us that has not been assigned to anyone else. We may never know what it is in this life, but we will be told it in the next. We are each a link in a chain, a bond of connection between people. While I believe it was my destiny to come to India, I think you will agree when you hear the following, that it was an unlikely outcome. First, I left school at age 16 to take up a place in a naval college to become a seaman, like my father. However, I lasted exactly 1 day. There was an eyesight test. It was conducted in a long, dark room, about 20 to 30 meters long. At one end of the room, there was a mirror. At the other end of the room, there was a lantern. And the lantern shone pinpricks of light, green, red, and white, so that they reflected on the mirror at the other end of the room. And you sat below the lantern and you looked at the mirror at the other end. And the examiner said, what is the sequence of lights that you see? And the sequence of lights were supposed to replicate a ship's light at night between 4 and 5 miles away. They were basically testing your eyesight for watchkeeping duties. So they said to me, what sequence of lights do you see? I said, I'm sorry, I don't really see a sequence. He said, we'll try another one. What sequence do you see now? I said, I'm sorry, I don't see any lights. Where are they? He said, the lights are over there. I said, I don't even see the mirror. My eyesight was so bad. I failed, I flunked completely. So, end of my days in the Naval College. First failure. I returned to school. I threw myself into activity. I edited the school magazine, chaired the debating society, acted in plays, wrote poetry, everything other than academic study. The result was I did not gain enough qualifications to attend university. Second failure. A year later, after working as a clerk, I woke up. I went to college and then on to university, where I graduated with a good business degree and was invited to take up further study with a view to an academic career. Instead, I went to London and studied to become a chartered accountant with one of the then Big Five firms, the Touche Company, now absorbed into Deloitte. A life of auditing seemed better. Two experiences during this period stand out in my mind and sparked off particular interests. First, I participated in a very junior role in the insolvency investigation of IOS, Investors Overseas Services, a mutual fund that had controlled billions of dollars of client money. It was operated out of a small town in France near the Swiss border and was to be a major cause of the financial crash of the 1970s. Exciting work and overseas travel. Second, I spent 6 weeks in Belize, formerly called British Honduras, a Central American country. I was auditing a British sugar industry subsidiary. Again, an exotic location. These were the only 2 foreign assignments I experienced, but I had a taste for more. On qualification as a chartered accountant, like 90% of my colleagues, I decided to leave the firm to find an exciting, better paid job. One of my previous clients had asked me to consider working as an accountant in his office in the Caribbean, the Bahamas, to be specific. I was momentarily tempted, but not ready to settle down in one location, however attractive. So I interviewed with several firms to become an international traveling intern auditor. For the interview with American Express, I wore standard uniform. Dark suit, white shirt, tie, and brightly polished shoes. And I carried a secret weapon. This was a copy of the Financial Times, the pink-colored broadsheet newspaper read by all top business people. I made sure it was suitably crumpled under my arm as I walked into the interview room. I got the job, and I stayed with Amex for the next 22 years. I never bought or read the Financial Times again. I loved internal. It's like fishing, the lure of the unknown, reading the clues, following your nose, finding new things, opportunities or dangers, writing it all up in a precise and accurate way while being balanced and healthy. In total, I spent about 2/3 of my career auditing in American Express. At various times, I was based in the UK, New York, and in Hong Kong. For the rest of the time, I traveled internationally. When I retired, I analyzed my logbook of flights. I had to keep a logbook of flights because tax officials wanted to know exactly what country I was in on a particular day. In total, I'd worked over in more than 30 countries, making an international flight once a week on average over 22 years. It's a lot of flying. My wife thinks it scrambled my brains. I think there may be an element of truth in that. It was as an audit manager with American Express that I first learned the principles of leadership. Aspects of the American Express Amex style that I particularly valued were the primacy of the company's blue box values. Things like integrity, teamwork, quality, customer commitment, personal accountability, no will to win. 360-degree feedback. This was a real novelty to me. Not only did your boss give you an appraisal once a year, but the people who work for you give you an appraisal. Not only did they give you an appraisal, but your colleagues and your customers give you an appraisal. 360 degrees. Wonderful feedback. Not always good, but learning material, development material. Also, the varied and extensive employee communications and the well-thought-out processes for recruitment, assessment, and promotion. Two very dissimilar experiences taught me different lessons about values and processes that helped shape the person I became. I was still a quite new auditor, sitting in our Brighton, England office one morning doing administration, when my boss called me into his office and told me to fly immediately to Frankfurt in Germany, and then to get trained to a small town called Birmingham, where a travel office clerk had just embezzled a substantial sum of money. It was about $70,000, if I remember correctly. I was to investigate and assist the local police. Gasp. It transpired that the lady had started borrowing money to fund a romance. And when she could not repay it, she borrowed more then even more using a technique known as teaming and leading, borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, as we say. I had to go to court as an expert witness and explain through an interpreter a complex fraud involving dozens of falsified color-coded accounting vouchers. The yellow copies were debits and the pink copies were credits. Not easy at all. The lady confessed and was found guilty. And one of the sad parts of the story is she tried to take her life. And the good part is that she wasn't successful. For me, it was a disturbing lesson in why internal controls are essential and protect from impairment both assets and good, but sometimes weak human beings. The interaction of systems, processes, and people was never clear. Again, as a senior manager, I once questioned why a particular business area had not been audited. I was told that to schedule an audit, there had to be a preliminary meeting with the audit team. And the gentleman in this case could not afford the time for such a meeting. He was always busy in meetings, out of town, or otherwise engaged. How long has this stalling been going on, I asked. Almost a year. The auditee, in this case, was a much more senior manager than I, with lots of clout in the building. The building, incidentally, has about 10,000 of its employees. It was on floors, it was quite a building. What to do? In the end, I went down several floors, found his office. He was having a meeting, so I barged in. I introduced myself, said I was new, and just happened to be passing, and I needed an appointment to arrange a review of his area, and he meekly complied. Silos, stalling, and game playing are traditional sports and bureaucracies. They can kill you if you don't recognize them and tackle them. Another lesson learned. Now, India. I bet you thought I'd never get there. In the early 1990s, a new control American Express TRS company, John McDonnell, came up with a very bold re-engineering proposal called Talent for Change. It envisaged consolidating 46 separate major global processing centers throughout the world into 3 mega centers called financial resource centers. There was already a large accounting operation in Phoenix, Arizona, so they decided that is where the Financial Resource Center, the FRC for the Americans, should be. There was also one in England, which did work for Europe, so they said, that's Europe taken care of. That only left the site for the Asia, Pacific, Japan, Australia, and New Zealand region to be selected. Amex considered a number of locations for the new Financial Resource Center. In particular, it looked at China, Japan, Australia, Singapore, Malaysia, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and India. The initial screen included things like receptivity to foreign investment, long-term strategic importance of the market for Amex, and the availability of economic and skilled labor. Then, for those countries that qualified, the considerations assessed during the final selection process included factors such as telecommunications, laws, regulations and taxes, business environment, transportation, and economic and political risk. It was a very, very thorough process. The official, needless to say, India won. You know that by now. The official decision would reference areas such as India's labor, its technology infrastructure, the low costs of doing business, and the readiness to adopt Western-style practices. That's very true. Dr. Manmohan Singh, the finance minister from 1991 to 1996, initiated economic reforms in India that liberalized the economy and encouraged foreign investment. I had the great pleasure of meeting both Dr. Singh and P. Chidambaram, who also served as finance minister. They were both very impressive men, keen to accelerate India's development as a major player on the global business arena. Another key reason for India's success was the effect an earlier business visit to India had on the worldwide controller, John MacDonald. Remember, he was the one that created the Challenge for Change project. He was hugely impressed with the quality of the Amex staff that he met in India. And at that time, American Express had been operating in India for just over 100 years. The quality, the intellectual brain power, the service orientation and willingness to think outside the box convinced him that Indian employees were already world class. And he said to me on a number of occasions, it's got to be India. I don't care what the topic, it's got to be India. And he was right. So in December 1993, I came to India with a mission of creating a financial resource center for FRC. That meant gaining various permissions, obtaining a legal entity, acquiring export-oriented unit status, finding a building, fitting it out, obtaining reliable telecommunications and power, hiring and training 500 to 700 staff, including outstanding leaders. Some of the early leaders were people like Raman Roy, Rama Ramakrishnan, Sanjay Gupta, creating policies and procedures, establishing compensation and benefits, and so on. When I came out to India, I just didn't come out as a single unit. We came out as a family with my wife, Goresh, who's here tonight, and our 2 children. The youngest, Seamus, was about 1 year old, and the older boy was just under 3 years old. One of my tasks, and perhaps, at least for me, one of the more significant ones, was communicating to all the people we hired our particular company culture and the American Express Blue Box values and our quality expectations. I made sure I personally taught a variety of orientation, training, and development programs. If you don't walk the talk, you won't have any talk. Why was I selected for this role? In retrospect, I imagine there were several qualities that recommended themselves. My audit training, for example, meant that I was able to evaluate risks. My accounting qualification meant I knew my debits from my credits, which I should. Working in more than 30 countries and interacting successfully with senior headquarters management meant that I learned to deal effectively with a variety of people. My psychological profiles also emphasized traits of teamwork, integrity, and strong delivery. I suppose the fact that both John and I had briefly worked together in audit more than 10 years earlier and respected, liked, and trusted each other did not do any harm. Interestingly enough, when I first met John, I didn't like him, I didn't get on with him. And it was reciprocated. John certainly didn't like me. It took us a couple of months and possibly 2 or 3 beers before we started to look at each other and began laughing at each other. And we've had a wonderful relationship ever since. It certainly did not start with. Of course, while initially I may have been the only person on the ground in India for the FSC project, there was an army of specialist resources available regionally and in New York headquarters to follow. Experts in real estate, treasury, legal, human resources, telecommunications, and so on, and very supportive senior managers like John, Ron Thompson, Jim Astor, and others. So, in less than 1 year, in November 1994, the FRC building was informally opened for the first 20 employees. 2 months later, It was formally opened by the president of American Express Company in the presence of a couple of hundred guests, including the controller, John McDonnell. In another year, the FRC had migrated much of the accounting systems from the Asia Pacific, Japan, and Australia, New Zealand region, and was looking hungrily at opportunities in Europe and the Americas. I left India after 6 years at the end of 1999 to return to England to ensure my two sons, then aged 6 and 8, were able to slot into the English education system. So what are my abiding memories of my time in India, apart from powder and sweets? For all the colour, richness, and vibrancy of the culture, it is my colleagues that best sum up India for me. I was privileged, I say it again, I was privileged to work with some of the finest, most gifted and capable people I have ever known. We learned together and we grew together, sparking off each other, enjoying moments of tremendous humour and other moments much fewer of crisis, all the time building a successful business. Sure, there were plenty of challenges. I never heard the term brownout until I came to Delhi. The bureaucracy, a gift from the British Raj, can be truly demotivating and soul-destroying. There were always commissions to be got, endless delays, almost half the phones did not work during monsoon, public transport for staff was a challenge, and so on. But for every problem, there was a solution. Once the brain power of the FRC leadership was focused, anything became possible. For example, to combat the issue of brownouts, we imported several 750 kilowatt diesel generators from Detroit in the United States. Because we were an export-oriented unit, we embedded these diesel generators in concrete and built a brick shed around them to house them securely to the satisfaction of the Customs Department. One day, a passing official of the Municipal Corporation of Delhi noticed the shed. On checking, he identified that we did not have the specific permission required for the building, as technically it could house people. He properly insisted we demolish it or face a fine and imprisonment. On checking with Customs, they were adamant that the building had been approved as secure housing for the generators and could not be demolished. To do so would risk fines and imprisonment. So get this, if we demolish it, we'll be fined and imprisoned. If we don't demolish it, we'll be fined and imprisoned. What could we do? Weeks of discussion and the goodwill of all parties saw a solution emerge. The buildings were rebuilt to exclude space for any possible accommodation on the fixed roof was replaced with a movable one. Problem solved. The staff at the FRC were special. Carefully selected, highly motivated and well trained. Many of them traveled throughout Asia Pacific and Europe, working overseas for days, weeks, even months at a time to migrate work back to India. For them, that was a huge cultural challenge, and we had to increase our training accordingly. But the international experience added value and unique skill sets, enriching their work experience and value. In addition to the usual HR processes, most FRC applicants were interviewed by a senior leader and an HR representative using competency-based techniques. Although that is a time-demanding process, it was very insightful to see how candidates dealt with supplemental questions on a range of from glib and shallow to stumbling but authentic. In the background, the Annex Controllers Organization in New York staffed up to support the Challenge for Change project, and they began an information sharing initiative so that every finance employee worldwide knew about it. No one was ignorant of tremendous opportunities that were soon going to be realized. And non-finance business leaders of all levels were similarly brought on board with support from the highest levels in the company. Not everybody was convinced that India was the correct answer. In fact, all four people were against India. To many people, India, if you thought of India, you thought of a backpacker. You didn't think of a business executive. India was an exotic, remote destination. Could it service the world? And John McDonald told me some of the battles that he fought in our New York headquarters. Fortunately, he convinced a key person, a gentleman called Ken Chenault, who a couple of years after the FRC was built, became the chief executive officer and chairman of the company and visited the FRC a couple of times. And when you've got that level of support, I tell you, things are a lot easier, although that support is not easily won. In fact, American Express Finance created an entire department called Strategic Enablement Services for overseeing the Challenge for Change project, the re-engineering and the process improvement, and ensuring the success of the 3 financial resource centers. The group did, 1, it developed a strategy for migrating processes from countries into India. It mapped the processes and built detailed plans for migration, integrating technology and human resources. It coordinated with local and regional managements, agreeing specific actions and addressing issues as they arose. Why was it very difficult? It was difficult because when you migrate processes into one central hub, an awful lot of people are in danger of losing jobs. They're in danger of losing the power base that they have built over the years. And they resist. And sometimes a lot of the resistance is not factual, it's emotional. 4th, they provided detailed training for the FRC staff in the relevant processes and overseas operation. And after migration, they consolidated and re-engineered processes. As time went on and the processes were being successfully migrated into New Delhi, the emphasis moved from re-engineering to process improvement. Within the FRC, we borrowed from the experience of the 2 already existing centres in Phoenix and Burgess Hill in the UK, as well as the expertise of our engineering and process improvement colleagues. In addition to having to introduce and frequently monitor various new metrics, there was a whole raft of disciplines that was totally unknown, certainly to me. Stuff like activity-based costing, total quality process improvement, business continuation planning, and we succeeded beyond our dreams in each of those areas. Why? Why did we succeed? Very simply, because we did not know that we could fail. Failure was not on the agenda. We had setbacks. Sure, we overcame them. As a leadership team, we got together frequently. We took time to learn and to bond. We worked cooperatively. We enjoyed each other's company. We trusted each other. And we built each other up. More on this later. For some reason, overseas colleagues were reluctant to come to India for business in the early days. And those that did preferred the security of 5-star hotels. India was best seen as an exotic destination for backpackers rather than a business hub. Invited to give a presentation at the company's worldwide finance conference in the mid-1990s, I shared the achievements of the FRC East, our vigorous business model with dependable power and telecommunications, an emphasis on process improvement, robust and tested contingency plans, comparable numbers of qualified accountants to FRC West and Central, strong IT resource, great employee and customer metrics, unchallengeable economics, and a hunger for growth. The reaction of the listeners 300 of them, to surprise and curiosity. It may be my imagination, the number of visitors began to increase. In many ways, the FRC East was unique. The scale of operations with hundreds of staff operating in a multi-shift environment, the extent of specialized F&E training both locally and in overseas markets, the scope of the work, end-to-end from financial capture to reporting and analysis, and global ownership of the entire world's worth of processes for such as reconciliations and payables. Not to mention the culture of continuous improvement and the pursuit of Six Sigma, thanks particularly to Ravi Ramakrishnan and Sanjay Gupta, who are here tonight. In the 1990s, the internet was still in relative infancy, and many of the business opportunities were yet to be realized. Indeed, the internet was made for India. When you look at the developers and programmers from an application like Adobe Photoshop, there's hardly a non-Indian name to be seen. There is a lot of enablement and facilitation of BPOs, which is taking them to new unheard of levels, simply because of the existence and development of the internet. I think we have something like 400 companies doing BPO in India, over 100 of them in the Delhi, Gurgaon, Noida area alone. Let me talk about work. Outside work, there were some learnings too. For example, we had servants, guards, a driver, cook, Mali, handyman, maids. Previously, my knowledge of servants had been limited to what I had read or seen on television, usually in programs about life 200 years ago. A new servant family from the south of India was introduced to my wife and I in our dining room. The couple approached us, knelt down in front of us, and touched our feet. What to do? The only time I'd seen something similar was old television footage when people approached the Pope, worldwide leader of Roman Catholics. So I gently laid my hand on the father's head. I said, "Bless you." It seemed to work. Similarly, after work, we occasionally had training or communication sessions in a local hotel. At the end, there were refreshments, and then when I was ready to leave, the music started. I soon learned that an event was truly successful only when it ended with dancing. As someone born with 2 left feet, this was a huge challenge for me. In fact, one of the most memorable evenings of my life ended with the men in a line at one end of the room, women lined up at the other end. Then, in Bollywood style, one male singer would advance singing a challenge, while his supporters also advanced chorus style behind him. This would be countered by a female singer from the other side with her advancing chorus, meeting the challenge and causing the men to retreat. And so it went on for half an hour or so, each side advancing and then retreating in turn. Absolutely magical. Magical. Earlier, I said I would like to say a little more about business leadership and the achievements of the FRC's leadership team. In my opinion, it's just my opinion, there were 6 aspects critical to our success. First, a rather odd one. Leaders must learn to be humble. Whatever your merits, there is someone cleverer, wiser, prettier, more capable of you. You will never know it all. You will be learning all your life. And when there are successes, don't hoard the praise, share it freely. I've seen too many leaders who could be good become not so good because it went to their heads. For me, the value is being a team player. And I do believe that the value of a team is greater than the sum of its individual parts. So, humility. Second, and this is another rather odd one, and it's related to the first one. Don't be too quick to judge people. It may take weeks or even months to discover the depths of ability your colleagues have successfully hidden from you, because you did not ask the right questions or made invalid assumptions. And never shoot the messenger. You have no messengers. A messenger with bad news is infinitely preferable to an abrupt surprise disaster. I think you agree there. Third, be tough. You will experience setbacks, even disasters. Deal with it. You know the saying, tough times don't last, tough people do. John MacDonald occasionally got frustrated with people who could not make up their minds. He wore the Nike slogan, just do it, just do it. I don't think he ever paid them any royalties, but he certainly used the slogan a lot. 4, hire more capable people than yourself. And then don't micromanage them, trust them, get out of the way, but insist on good, frequent communications. Next, create a positive, open, confident, respectful atmosphere. Communicate often and well. If you can't do it, hire someone who can. People will look to you to set the tone. 6, dream. Dream in the daytime. I don't mean sleep at work. I'm thinking of the quotation from T.E. Lawrence. All men dream, but not equally. Those who dream by night in the dusty recesses of their minds wake up in the day to find that it was a vanity. But the dreamers of the day are dangerous men, for they may act on their dreams with open eyes to make them possible. Both John and Priam were daytime dreamers and excellent leaders. Now I have become a pastor, having reached the grand age of 70, and having a dodgy hip, may I be excused the dance tonight if there is one. I retired early, about 18 years ago, to enjoy my children's formative years, and for a few years I enjoyed being retired. I did things that took my interest. For example, I obtained a Cambridge University external qualification and taught English in a language school for a couple of years. The owners of the school thought that I had an impressive business background, so I was asked to specialize in foreign businessmen who wanted to learn English. What this translated into was East European gentlemen who wanted to know the details of the UK's value-added tax and corporation tax systems. I think they were looking for loopholes. Then I started an internet bookselling business with a small warehouse selling books on various platforms such as Advanced Book Exchange Aid, Amazon, and Alibris. It was tremendous fun, huge learning. But as someone once said, it's a great way to make a small fortune. First, you have to start with a large one. When I began, there were about 40,000 booksellers worldwide selling through the Aid website. 2 years later, everybody piled in, and there were 90,000 booksellers, and book prices almost halved as a result. I had my fun, so I closed that business. Always interested in writing, I took a master's degree in creative writing and authorship at the University of Sussex. Halfway through writing the world's best novel, it struck me that my ego was probably bigger than my ability, and there were many more capable writers who deserved success before me. So that half of the novel remains in my computer. Do you remember the quote I used at the beginning? A famous person said that we are each created to do some definite service. Some work has been assigned to each of us that has not been assigned to anyone else. We never know what it is in this life that we will be told in the next. One of the advantages of being retired is you're free to volunteer your services. My wife Gretchen and I work with various charities, particularly those that support the elderly and homeless. For 3 years, I volunteered as an editorial assistant of a religious newspaper in the counties of Sussex and Surrey. A small staff of us producing 12,000 copies a month, writing anything, you see. 2 years ago, I became editor. I believe this work has been assigned to me, and I expect to find out for sure in the next life. But I'm in no hurry to enter the next life to find out. The same wise man also said, to live is to change, and to be perfect is to have changed often. So, if I have a final message for you, it's just that. Be prepared to change and grow. There's a definite service that has been assigned to you, and you only. And enjoy life. Thank you.
So it's just mesmerizing. I think as like the console and the timer, we lost track of the time. It was so insightful to hear you. Some of the messages were so powerful. I think we will replay a few times to absorb more and more and more. And we may talk to you a little later about even compiling it to a journal or a note that you'd like to make available to all of us to read later. With this, I would request once again you to come please here, and I request Mr. Sunil Sayal to pass on a moment of gratitude to you for sparing an evening with us and sharing an insight with us. Thank you, Sunil. Thank you. I know we're a little behind on our time, but we want to continue with the evening with the next agenda item. And for that, I would request my friend and co-research panelist, lead editor, Sanjay Gupta, to join me on the stage, please. Thank you. So for some of the MX people, it is Sanjay One Gupta.
He so desperately wanted to be one for me, number one. So that's, he said, you got me numbered for life, but so am I. So sorry for that. We share the same name, first name and last name, and there are no other middle names as either of us. So that's it.
First.
Yeah, sure, sir.
So standing next to you, folks.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So I think once again, very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I think our intent was to also share an extract from an extract of a research report. Just wanted to share the research report looks like this. This is a research report which we unveiled about a couple of months back in Pune. So we thought we use this evening as an opportunity to share some insights from there. We may not be able to run through many of the points across this research report, but we'll be able to at least flip through some of the big trends. And even in the big trends, I feel we like to keep it those specifics which may feel may suit you to take it back to your workplace, to relate with it. And many of them you will be aware of those trends, but I just thought it was good to know.
Just give you a little background about what this research report all about. This research report, so as a shared services product, we have a research practice, and every alternate year we come up with a global business services research where we interact with a lot of leadership across the globe into different industry and sectors. It may be business services, it may be manufacturing, the CXOs, and a lot of India, business services leaders to understand their perspectives and how the entire business services landscape is changing, as well as from the customer perspective, what they're looking forward from this space. We also have an online survey as part of it. So we had an online survey where people went to the portal, fill in their responses, and then obviously we used a lot of primary and secondary research information based on whatever is available in the public domain as well as whatever is already available with us thanks to last 8-9 years of research. This report is about 90 pages, 7 sections, about some 37 subsections, 90 charts, and many tables, which obviously we can't have on here. But I just pulled out a few specific trends from this book. One of the interesting fact which was hitting us hard is there are a lot of communication around this business services industry has reached its pinnacle. What next? It's all over. Already 25 years, and we realize it's about $900 billion industry globally, and only 194 billion has been offshore, including India and other places. So what we are saying is about $700 billion work, still 900. Now it is not that everything will move, but there is still a lot to happen in that space. The GIC market in India is about 50-55 billion. Overall, so GIC is overall is about 50-55 billion. India has about 50% of that. Interestingly, about 1,000 centers. And very interesting number is out of this 1,000 centers in India, more than 50% is less than 500 FTEs. So there's one side you will find centers with 5,000, 10,000 FTEs, and there's one side you will find centers with 100 FTEs, 150 FTEs, 200 FTEs. So about 57% is less than 500 FTEs. Globally, there are 3,100 centers, and out of this, 68% is less than 500 FTEs. And somewhere, as part of the conversation, the point we're trying to make here is there was a message given by the CXO. They see this as a subscale because less than 500 FTEs, they feel an massive challenge in terms of how much to invest and invest in terms of technology, etc., etc. So it is called subscale, anything less than 500 FTEs. Obviously, the name change from GIC to GCC. Now we are deliberating, is it a name change or how to make a difference? GIC is global in our center, GCC is global capability centers. And how much the name change will really bring the capability, how to bring that difference to the question. India continues to be the preferred destination. All this nearshoring, offshoring, RPA, technologies, etc. The last 12 months, if you see, the trend confirms India continues to be a destination for offshoring, which obviously led by FRC and etc. Beauty is the number of FTEs, it has highest number of processes, and from the revenue perspective, it is growing much higher. This is interesting. We were talking with some of the folks and realized that the large BPO deals is shrinking. There's no actually large BPO deals which is happening. It's all carve-outs or buyouts which is happening. And that is where the whole demand and supply is meeting together with customer relation. A lot of enterprises are going all about seeing a maturity, and with the maturity, carving out their captives or splitting of their captives, unlocking the values, realizing the upfront monetization, seeing a 7-year glide path, and so on and so forth. And there are a lot of the deals which we have experienced in the last couple of years. SCL bought Xerox deal, Infosys bought Compass, EY, Avian, some of the major deals which is happening. Jetpack has gone back to G again, which what they had started with. Now they are having another large deal with some couple of $1 billion, $500 million ACV kind of a deal. This is all carve-outs. And what is interesting here is a trend which we are seeing, and we found this. Even the GIC heads sitting in India are leading and championing that and creating that opportunity. what used to be called earlier, it will be a job threat, the role what you're playing yourself. We are finding that becoming a trend to create how to optimize it. Continental Europe, US, UK, absolutely everybody is aware of a lot of opportunity in US and UK. US continues to be a market which is providing a lot of offshore services to India. But continental Europe is where there is a lot of traction these days. A lot of people would be aware in Europe, continental Europe particularly, had what we call onshore, nearshore shared services, 100 FPs, 150 FPs, 400 FPs, and now they are considering to really come out of that cocoon to go to the offshore. That is becoming more and more prevalent these days from the continental Europe point of view. Obviously, the challenge is about how to look at the local laws and languages, but that is something which was mastered by many of us in the last so many years. So now those case stories are enabling them to really come up with that. One of the interesting thing I was talking about is subscale. So less than 500 FPs is called subscale, and even a mid-size organization. So less than 500 FPs for the entire enterprise function. If your consolidating is less than 500 FPs, primarily for manufacturing companies, because the BFSI telecoms, the numbers will be larger, and for a mid-sized corporation which may not have an opportunity to have a larger FP numbers, the classical operating models are not able to support. There are a lot of specifics where they are struggling in terms of classical operating model, which is pure play captive or play outsourcing. And that is where we are finding innovative ways where they are creating something or they're creating, what they call as dedicated captive, managed captive, and so on. And dedicated captive is one thing which we are finding has a potential to solve some of these requirements.
So, from a point of view of how many and what kinds of businesses are now being done by centers, especially the more professional centers, the scope expansion is really one of the areas that is being majorly looked at. What areas within the scope? Obviously, the expansion is both left, right, top, and bottom. So, more and more inclusivity is being introduced. More and more processes are being introduced. In fact, the concept of customer service is coming in a very, very big way. Centers now looking at end-to-end processes with the clear aim of defining what the customer really wants. So customer satisfaction has now become actually the goal or the measure metric for the centers themselves, even though the centers may look at themselves as service centers. But one of the measures that they keep for themselves is customer satisfaction, which could possibly be the corporate goal as well. The other thing, obviously, is the maturity of the process. So those rule-based processes have moved on to content-based processes, and now everything is about the contextual process. So a process definition is not necessarily the same. One shoe does not fit all is a standard regulation across the service organizations, and now companies are looking at what does it take to get a certain end result in place, rather than a definite process that may have been defined in a certain manner, etc. So extremely flexible processes now are coming into play. Very commonly done thing now is getting digital and analytics. Now, analytics is actually becoming extremely popular location, which is now being taken on by these professional institutes in extremely diverse ways. It's not just simple the financial analytics that used to be done in one place. In fact, our sense is from our survey is that it's more common analytics, in fact, coming up in a very, very big way. Clearly, the treasury, payroll, tax, you mentioned one kinds. But the ones which are coming up secretly in a very big way behind the scenes is selection, human selection, and recruitment and onboarding, for instance, or training and learning are becoming very, very prone to analytics, and CRM, customer lifecycle management. So these are the more happening trends in the analytics world. And finally, innovation. Up till now, almost all centers were talking about rule-based processing or doing things in a defined way. That's why you had job descriptions and you had training manuals. But now those things are also changing, with the centers becoming prominent value-add centers. innovation has become an extremely important element. And you cannot necessarily have either a defined process or a defined outcome, because this is by very nature a turmoil situation and a playing field for you to experiment. Extremely unique, but we are looking at, we are seeing improving and increasing trends out there. People practices. People practices have moved big time over a period of time. Harry described a few people practices which he had learned for the first time. In fact, we are learning from a lot of things that are happening around people practices, even now as we speak. Leadership, for example, is not being looked at as pure leadership anymore. Now, more and more organizations want absolute, the leaders, the people who are actually leading the businesses, to become entrepreneurs on their own. Why should entrepreneurs? What is the difference between an entrepreneur and a leader? Well, the buck stops here. And there may be other stages as well, but the buck needs to stop here. It's the risk that you begin to take on your own. It's your personal commitment that comes into the play. And that's where entrepreneurs are becoming the skill or the role or the ability that is being looked at in the first place for true leaders. Clearly, becoming employees or hiring employees is also another trend that we are seeing not necessarily rise to the extent that it needs to. Because of specialization and super specialization, an extremely serious move many organizations are taking are actually getting labor and specialists on term basis or a contractual basis. Either it could be a fixed periodic term or an outcome-based term. But this is becoming more and more prominent, especially as the specialization around digitization, etc., comes in place, and you needn't really hire very expensive people, but necessarily have the expertise to carry out the process for you. Retention. Everybody hears about this organization, this industry actually having a very deep retention program, and attrition is very prominent. So, a lot of effort is being done, has always been done about how to retain people and getting more and more people to stay back in the organization, which is now becoming extremely critical. So, our survey actually found out that skilling, reskilling, etc., though important or does happen within the organization, but the first and the foremost is empowerment. People have to be given the right and authority to carry out the way they would like to, and own up on mistakes, and you have to have the ability to make an error without getting a reprimand for it. Engagement, recognition, freedom, and reskilling. And another very serious element that comes with reskilling is how to reskill. Because it's very easy to say you should upskill, you should reskill, you should. But reskilling isn't a very easy thing, because it's not necessarily very easy to teach new tricks. I shouldn't use the rest of the sentence, but it's not very easy to teach new tricks. But therefore, one of the organizations that actually devoted time to make processes simpler. People are faced with the processes rather than being brought in here so that the outcome is gradual. There are blended training programs. Organizations are creating processes where training them on newer techniques or newer elements or newer platforms is becoming partial, and so on and so forth, including creating a very serious internal labs and dealing with it from external point of view as well. And there are a whole lot of initiatives that very innovative initiatives that people are talking to us about how they're creating the reskilling programs.
Yeah, so I think so from a technology perspective, the organizations again from earlier we used to think about small size, mid-size organizations struggling with the ERP. In fact, the organization is going from big to large. They are all thinking of how to optimize the technology. And that way, it's looking even ERP as a service. So ERP as a service is something which is quite predominant from both the buyer perspective as well as the seller perspective. And we can see many of the major ERP loadings moving towards ERP as a service. AI to AI, as we again we are the world of acronyms. So AI to AI is all about artificial intelligence to augmented intelligence.
You know, they're all talking about machine learning, ML, whatever. It's all about how this supports you to do this augmented intelligence, where you have the mind, human, and the technology put together. That is where the organizations are more moving towards, rather than leaving just about the humans and machines separately. One of the things which is becoming very critical, and we have found in this research trend, is people are not actually. I don't mind making a statement by saying homegrowns are dying, homegrown applications are dying. The concept of homegrown applications, people are moving towards the ecosystem because there's something or other is available for that technology in the market, which is good to fit for your requirement. Not just about finding that ecosystem. Something may come for a price, something may come for a very lower price available. So people are moving towards ecosystem, then saying everything I will create and develop. From an RPA point of view, this is very interesting. I think I've been talking personally for about 50 plus years. And one of the question that I used to ask is, have you done an RPA? And I spoke about from the GIC leaders, and everybody raised their hand by saying, yes, we have done. Almost 90% plus said, yes, we have done an RPA. The next question was, how much you have really adopted, deployed. The response was adoption perspective. We have done POCs. We've done 3 POCs because of thanks to many of these platform providers who have enabled us to do a POC. Have you done beyond that? We are finding ways to figure out what to do that. So only 30% people say we have really done beyond POCs. And very effectively deployed, which is a part of a larger transformation program and strategy of an organization. Only about 15-20% people respond saying yes, we can effectively deploy as a part of the shared services. In fact, all the shared services, some of the trends in this RPA, interestingly, we are saying people have gone and named the bots. They're saying this is John, this is Mary. John is on leave today because of the maintenance work. Mary is being on today because of the whatever some changes are happening and so on and so forth. Now today you can digital workforce where you can, if you want an AP bot, you can just do an AP bot, and then thousands of AP profiles will be available by saying I can do manufacturing, and in manufacturing I can do 3-year batch, SAP, I can do GRL batch. I'm an Oracle bot, so they are designed for Oracle bots. So you can search for Oracle bots, SAP bots, and those kind of things in AP also. That's kind of a workforce, and the profiles are available. Like you used to search for new things.
Where the beginning of the world, so add employee numbers so that they can be identified and handled, and they want to be phased out or promoted. All of them promoted. Well, I didn't mean the kind of promotion there, but promoted means augmented.
Some of the challenges, why still out of this, the reasons we were trying to figure out why they did not move from saying under the POC, and because there was a push from many of this platform provider, and we are not effectively taken it to the next level. I think the major challenge is they're doing it because there was a push. Or when I spoke to the GICs, India GIC guys or centralized, they were saying we are doing it because headquarter wants to know what different you are doing. So I'm ticking the box saying I'm doing RPA. It was not really meant for as a part of your strategy. It was something just ticking the box. So the right strategy and why you are doing that, because there are some of those process transformation lies when we went to the depth of the conversation with guys, could be possible even through simple automation, could be possible through simple workflows. Just because you want to do an RPA, you're doing an RPA. The challenge, which is a major challenge, is you see acquiring, and I'm just jumping into a few of the pointers here, but acquiring a tool is not sufficient. Many times people just get a tool, select a tool, a platform, and say, no, I'm partnered with XYZ, that is good enough for me to do an RPA and bots transformation across the processes. It's about the entire stakeholder change management process behind that, because what it was and what it is going to be in that box, the problem is once it goes in the box, already it was the asset knowledge, already documented knowledge, but the moment it goes in the box, 90% only the box knows what it is inside. So the chances, that's a major challenge, and that's where the stakeholder communication, etc., is becoming a big problem. And this is true for large global GICs, the 5,000, 7,000 FPs in India, and we have experienced them struggling with saying, oh, I have done 20 bots, but that is only for when the business comes from overseas. One other point on the RP, other thing which I felt was very important, somebody highlighted by saying communication. Are you making a communication about replacing human being, or are you saying I'm making a skilled environment and an enhancement of their capability? Because many times when you go and talk to the people whose work you're going to automate, the scare is you're replacing humans. That's become the important element of the communication. Some of the specifics to India shared services. I think that's an interesting one. I think just taking a step back, 94, 95 saw American Express and then G, and G made it big with business services industry. Unilever, HUL actually, started in 2003-4. The India shared services and made it big. Tata Motors following Dr. Reddy's, Lanvaxi, and so on and so forth. So there was a Indian organizations which were going into this journey of shared services. The interesting piece is out of BS 1000, only 10% companies in India have adopted shared services strategy. Why so? There are four myths. They don't understand how to get a positive business case. Because there's somewhere perception that our scale is going to be small, maybe about 15, 100, 150. I was talking with somebody before this event started, saying we have 40 or 50 FPs. And by design, we compare 40, 50 with 7,000s and 8,000s in a global environment and say we don't get an arbitrage. And that is where the problem is. They create very functional strategy, which is finance function strategy, HR strategy, IT strategy. It's not an organizational strategy. Like I talked about challenge for change, but that kind of organizational strategy is something which is missing. Also, some of this Indian organization, the last 10 years, what happened is India is famous for taking lead. Our landline system is not good, but our mobile system is very good as compared to US and UK. At least now, the last couple of years is bad because of corridors. But at least we took a leap in terms of some of those technologies. So some of the Indian companies took a leap in terms of outsourcing, and they struggled. They had a very bad experience because they felt they are a small fish in a big ocean and no attention, and they decided to move out. Even today morning, in fact, I was talking to a very large media provider, a very prominent name. They said less than 1,000 FTs, we don't even blink our eyes to think about technology. Anything less than 1,000 FTs doesn't make sense. Obviously, sales guys will say 50 FTs also makes sense. No one from DPO here, I hope. More than 80% of Indian companies which has gone through the shared services journey, they have realized this savings of more than 10 to 25%, some even more than 25%. That whole myth about no business case is just a myth. Obviously, we also try to understand from them that what is the reason how you get this positive business case. What really happened? So it is not about consolidation effect. Sometimes it's only just putting people together or a labor arbitrage. It's about right fit, right span of control, right level mix. The people for 20 years do the same job, passing the bills. Now you have to educate them to do something else. And they have grown from being a frontline associate to becoming a senior general manager. I know somebody who was running a payroll in India, a large $3 billion company, who was earning more than the CFO of the company. And she was a payroll manager. I mean, payroll general manager. Some of the Indian corporations, which has already gone through this route of shared services, is moving into what we call SSF 2.0. And the GIC has gone to 4.0, 5.0. So 2.0, where they now they have already done this consolidation, they're moving to optimization, having the capability and maturity, looking at that. What is most critical for them to sustain is to expand. They need to grow, they need to expand. And make sure the governance and strategy is built. Governance sometimes drop in India shared services, creating a lot of challenges for them. And moving back into government. Future investments and priorities for our global organizations we see is all about this whole value story. Instead of saying tick in the box saying I'm doing RPA, I'm doing some innovation, I'm doing some bigger transformation, I'm doing ML, etc., etc. What is important is to communicate value story. For that, you need to understand, capture, and communicate. What you're saying is first you need to know your potential, create that potential or value. Then obviously deliver that value and have a bottom line impact. The challenge, what we realized, they're all talking about value story.
Everybody was able to relate with this 4 bullets. The challenge was many of them is not even capturing what we call fully loaded cost per efficient. In our research and survey, we were surprised to see hundreds GIC leaders saying our fully loaded cost is personal cost. So there is somewhere that's a huge gap. Second, the charge out, on the question of charge out, they responded, we are cost plus. So how cost plus and charge out is different? So we see there's a need to move before moving to value story, to think about just charge out and charge out differently than just a cost plus. Digital adoption and effective deployment is important. That's not about the tick in the box that I talked about. We were talking about effective deployment. Reskilling and upskilling is very critical. How to look at the elements of reskilling and upskilling. What we are obviously sharing from our SSF point of view is also we are saying is about future ready versus future shock. So we need to be future ready given some of this changing stuff.
So I'll just take 30 seconds, I promise, and I'm not going to make this very easy, though it looks very complex. So one of the things that we realized when we were doing this intensive study, and after talking to lots and lots of people in the industry, is saying that the minds have changed. The majority has grown. We have moved up and right. We are not looking at business in isolation. We are not looking at processes in isolation. We are looking at the enterprise as a whole. We're not looking at the solution of the process or of the business. If we are looking at customer support, we are looking at customer satisfaction, the end results of the product as a whole. So we realize that it is not now merely sufficient to keep ourselves confined to what we used to call business process management, because business is only restricted to that level of creating that industry, and process is just the end-to-end management of the process of the business. But we are saying that there are hundreds of elements in addition to running an enterprise than mere processes. And that's why we created this format. We call it center, because we believe that center as a format, in as far as realization is concerned, leaders of the world, is very important to take care of these 6 elements. And I'm not going into all of them, just reading them out for you. And we are very, very happy to engage with anybody for this, make us richer, and try and see how we can engage this in a much better manner in the world outside. So we start with customer-centric operations. Our operations used to be customer-centric. There is no doubt about it. Customer has always been considered king. He's a kinger now, if we can use that term. The enterprise management has to be complete end-to-end. This has to be absolute start to end kind of thing. More important now. And ending with the customer journey is extremely important. Partnerships. No one had actually talked about the software elements of the business. We've heard this everywhere, that most deals happen in the golf courses, or in the golf, tees. And where is that captured? Why is that not an important element? So relationships become very, very important. And half the time, in a particular relationship, you can deal with it, even if there's a failure. And some with a minor glitch, you may want to actually retaliate. And so relationships become very important. Tech integration. Now, technology has become business. Technology is no more integrated. Technology is business. And therefore, if there are companies who say we carry this business and we use this technology to support it, that's all wrong, it's going down the tubes. So technology is becoming extremely important. Capabilities are important. Capabilities are now becoming more and more prominent and defined. So capabilities cannot remain generic anymore, they're becoming extremely specific. And finally, transformation, especially during the times of digital metamorphosis. This is an important element to be watching out for. And business models change so drastically that just keeping pace is a full-time activity for leaders. So with that, we'd like to request any one of you. We're very happy to engage on the center model. And any questions that you may have on the survey itself, as soon as we are done with the survey session, you're welcome to join us. Raise any questions.
Just to mention, this copy is available. Exec summary is free available if you want to request an exec summary. Full report, the hard copy as well as the soft is available. Some of the hard copies are available here for us. So we get obviously the copy. The last point I want to leave from an SSF point here is a request to all of you. A shared success forum is trying to work towards creating these best practices, trends, knowledge, sharing, etc., etc. And for the last few years, what we have been doing is we have a quarterly journal by name Process Edge, which covers a lot of articles from the leaders like you sharing their case stories, journey, and so on and so forth. Both ways. This will get more traction if you start reading it and using it and asking some questions back to the author, not to me, who has written that story. And also adding and sharing more of your journey and case story, because this is a community. As we were beginning, we said it's a forum by practitioners for the practitioners. They're not an event company. So it is important that I leave a request with all of you that please do contribute to Shared Services Forum Journal. Bring your stories, share your stories. Surely share your failures, if any, because that becomes the best part of the learning for some of those. So that's all from our end, and thank you. Anand, over to you for your time.
Oh, what an evening that we have had so far, despite being a little behind time. A dream coming true for many of us in the Shared Services Forum to have none other than Harry Robertson amongst us. Harry talked of some wise men. I also recall a wise man who tried to say that the awards are typically of two types. One, it is given by the state, the authorities, the powers that be, which has a decoration, which has a patronage inside, which has encouragement for us. And the other that we witness today is the award from the community. Versus decoration versus affection. Patronage versus gratitude and thankfulness. So I'm sure you will all agree with me that, like many other awards of Shared Services Forum, this is from the community, for the community, from the practitioners to one of the pioneer practitioners amongst us, Mr. Harry Robertson. That's another component. And I fell in my duty, if I do not include in my 1 minute of time, to express highest sense of gratitude to everybody present in the room who have come in for such a short notice. We had to do it at a short notice for reasons not far to handle from. But everything was done within a matter of days. People have changed their schedules, stayed back in town. Someone's taking a red-eye flight tonight just to be with Harry and with all of us in this room. And there are people, many of them, on a Monday, when everybody wanted to start a week and a particular predetermined plan, they all adjusted, grabbed all the other commitments. So, from the core of our hearts, a big thank you. And another sense of gratitude I want to express to my colleagues in Shared Services Forum, who had this tremendous challenge to organize the event the way we are known for, to do it the right way, the professional way, and befitting manner. And it has all gone so far. I'm sure you will agree that it has been done very, very well. So Pallavi Jaiswal and other members of our team. Thank you very much. No more time to stay in between, probably between us and the rest of the evening. The bar is now getting set. So all over. Thank you once again.
रिकॉर्डिंग